Good afternoon, everyone. Professors, colleagues, friends, students, guests, welcome to this distinguished lecture sponsored by IAS and the Supply Chain Management Center for Marketing and Supply Chain Management. Today, I feel somewhat distinguished to introduce today's speaker, Professor Christopher Tang. Professor Tang is a University Distinguished Professor and Edward Carter Chair in Business Administration and the UCLA Anderson School of Management. Currently, he's visiting UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business. I'd like to share with you a light history of Professor Tang's heavyweight accomplishments. He received his PhD in operations research from Yale University in 1985. He then joined UCLA Anderson School of Management. There, from 1998 to 2002, he served as Senior Associate Dean and Chairman. He was Dean of the Business School at the National University of Singapore from 2002 to 2004. And before that, 2000 to 2002, he was Senior Advisor to the President of NUS. Professor Tang has published 5 books and over 100 research articles in various leading academic journals. On top of that, he has written articles for Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, and The Guardian. He is the recipient of numerous teaching and research awards. For example, in 2012, he received UCLA's University-wide Distinguished Teaching Award. 2011 was a very good year for Professor Tang because in that year, he received 2 Lifetime Fellow Awards. One from INFORMS, the Institute for Operation Research and Management Science, and the other from POMS, the Production and Operations Management Society. Professor Tang served as president of POMs in 2014. Right now, we all know he is the editor-in-chief of Manufacturing and Service Operations Management. This is a highly reputable journal, and its reputation has nowhere to go but up. As I said, 2011 was a good year for Chris, but it's not his best year. His best year is yet to come. So without further ado, let's warmly welcome Professor Christopher Tang.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly a great honor to be here. First of all, I want to declare myself that I was born in Hong Kong, like many of the folks in this room. And also that is coming to the campus at Hong Kong UST means a lot to me because I was actually involved with the setup of the business school of Hong Kong UST when Hong Kong UST was not even built. It was starting in the Star House in Tsim Sha Tsui in 1988, I believe. And then the campus was opened in 1991, right? So it is remarkable that after 24 years, we started with one building. Originally started just an academic building, and now it took us many minutes to walk to this wonderful, lovely, lovely building. So it's really wonderful, but more importantly, within 24 years, it is remarkable that to think of something that was impossible in the late 80s. Because the founding chancellor, Jia Wu, at that time, he wanted to start a truly research university in Hong Kong that followed the US tradition. So at that time, it was an uphill battle, right? So actually, within 24 years, it is wonderful to see time and again the Hong Kong UST continue to be the #1 research institute in Hong Kong. I know so because I was on the RAE panel last year, a few months ago. Also, that's even the one before. But also that is Hong Kong UST, the ranking is continue to be exceeding high, including the Hong Kong UST catalog, exec MBA program is always ranked #1 for many years. So it is really a pleasure and honor for me to speak with you today. Now, today's topic, we're going to talk about social innovations. So let me give you a background why I end up doing something like this as a business school professor, right? Most business school professors, usually they will focus on helping companies to make higher profits, reducing costs, or making the system more efficient. The main reason I started this journey on social innovations, I think it started around 5 years ago. I discovered one rather interesting statistics. I was looking at the Gini index, which is a measure of income inequality of different countries around the world. So among all the developed economies in the world, that means not counting China, not counting India. And I was shocked to find out that Hong Kong is also number 1 in terms of income inequality in the world, not United States. Number 2 was Singapore. And number 3 is the United States. Then I thought that, well, given that I was born in Hong Kong and I worked in Singapore and also lived in the States for over 30 years, then maybe it's time for me to rethink about what I do and see if there's any way to make a difference in any small way or inspire other people to look into this matter, how we can help others so that we can actually make this world become better. Because that's, I think as Hong Tao pointed out, there's no more promotion for me to go. So I feel there's an obligation to do something about it. Professionally speaking, as I really tried to look into this matter, I found this area rather fascinating. It was fascinating for many reasons. First, in terms of social innovations, it is a new area, but it's also complex. Why? Because it involved governments, it involved NGOs, it involves the poor people, and also involves companies, enterprises as well. Second, it also involved many stakeholders, not just companies and customers, but many people involved. And also, I was also delighted to have the lunch with the executive director of IAS about the multidisciplinary research, IAS. It's also multidisciplinary. It is not pure business. It's not pure social science. It's not pure of anything. But it is an important area. So I said, well, again, I can afford to take risk. Even if my papers do not get published, it is still okay. So that's how I started my journey, all right? Then the next question is that where should I focus on and why should we care about these issues? So I discovered the following. Most of the poor people, most people would guess it would be in Africa. Actually, it's not true. Most of the poor people are still located in Asia. Bear in mind, Asia has the highest population, right? So I said, wow, maybe this is the best topic to talk about this in Hong Kong. Because even we don't need to look that far away. Even Hong Kong has a huge income inequality problems. And also in China. In China, we know there are a lot of billionaires, but don't forget, the bulk of the poor people in China is still very poor. So, and also that is something that we need to keep in mind. And also United Nations has declared that 2015 is a year that's to try to reduce or eliminate extreme poverty, right? Then the question is what can governments, what can companies do about it, all right? So basically you can think about from the company standpoint, they have been trying to improve the revenue growth. But they also discovered that there are many markets, they're saturated already. In the US, in Europe, it's all saturated. So the only other new markets they have to enter would be the developing countries, right? So that's one. And second is also they are actually being pushed to look into corporate social responsibility. In many countries, Denmark, in 2009, they started the new mandates. All publicly traded companies, they must report the corporate social responsibility reports in the annual reports as well. And of course, given I was born in Hong Kong, I'm fully aware of the Occupy movements. So there are a lot of activism also involved. So now a lot of citizens, they start questioning about companies, they start questioning about governments, what they're going to do about child labor, unfair treatment, workplace safety issues and whatnot, right? And at the same time, the government also need to create different elements to create awareness, job creations. So in the UK, the Prime Minister created the Big Society. In the US, President Obama started the Office of Social Innovations. And then yesterday, I learned that in Hong Kong, there is a funding to encourage people to do social enterprises as well. So this is the Hong Kong Social Innovations and Entrepreneurship Development Fund. So the government has earmarked $150 million to encourage people to start companies that would do social goods. So I think this is really encouraging news. And the question is how can we actually make a difference? How can a social enterprise to start something that would be doing good for the people who are in need, who are poor or who are in need, and also doing well, financially sustainable, right? Is it possible, right? So knowing that my background is looking at system dynamics, looking at the entire systems, then the question, we have to take a more holistic view. So this is how we started with the ecosystems. Take a look. So you look at it, ecosystems, it consists of the supply chain, you think the producers, supply chain, consumers, and natural resources, and waste, right? In terms of supply chain management, this area has been studied for the last 25 years or so. And I think that there are many experts in the room today, and we have done quite well as a community. So that is really a wonderful achievement of the field of operations management. The second one is in terms of environmental issues, the planets, right? Now, this one we don't need to emphasize how the severity of this problem in China, right? So that's why there are lots of researchers now they're looking into ways to reduce carbon dioxide emission in China, water pollution, and compliance issues. So I think there are lots of research opportunities there as well. So what I'm going to focus on is how to develop people in an economic sense. How do we improve the economic development in certain areas such that we can create win-win situations? So our focus would be more on the people and profit issues, and also that is the two views. The first view, that is the late C.K. Prahalad, which is a guru in strategy after perhaps is similar to Michael Porter, and he passed away a few years ago. And he said, well, there are over 2 billion people, that's their potential consumers. But then there's a counter-argument, is an article published by Kanani. He's saying, well, not so fast. So poor people may be able to buy some shampoo, some nice soaps today, but then they already exhausted the income. They cannot continue to be your customer the next time. So in that case, it will not be sustainable. So therefore, in order to make this kind of developments more sustainable, we need to start with the people first. We need to create opportunities for the people to produce such that they can have stabilized their income, stabilize their, increase their income, such that they can increase their well-being before they become the consumers. So this is with this particular thesis, we try to look into how we can use the supply chain concept to help the poor people, right? So this is some of the ideas I'm going to share with you. If you look at supply chain, this is a typical supply chain. You have suppliers to enterprise, distributors, retailers, consumers. Now bear in mind, the poor people, they cannot start the company. They have no money, so this is out. They're not ready for consumers. There are only 2 options left, right? So in that case, this also gives the reasons why they should be served as how can we help the farmers, the producers, the work weavers, or how to help them as retailers, they're micro-retailers. For example, in India, Unilever, they want to make the Lux soap or your Dove shampoo. They use the ladies to sell door to door. So this is the Shakti project. It's been very successful. It's like the Avons ladies. They sell from door to door. The other one is Sari stores in the Philippines, is also the roadside stores, and how to help them to actually improve the profitability so that they can stay in business. So then the question is, in terms of distributors, I'll give you one example. In Coca-Cola, in Africa, they may not have running water. They may not have access to clean water, but they have access to Coca-Cola. Because Coca-Cola made a commitment. Wherever there are people, there's Coca-Cola, regardless where it is, right? So how do they make it happen? So the way they make it happen is this is a micro-entrepreneur. He is a distributor. In a few cases on the bicycles, he's distributing Coca-Cola to different stores in Africa, right? We'll come back to this example, how other companies can utilize Coca-Cola's micro-distribution centers to distribute other products as well, all right? So we'll come back to that. Okay, good. So now we can actually help the poor people to start. So well, if we can help them as a producer or as distributor retailers, then they can improve the earnings. Again, not so fast. In many different countries, there are a lot of constraints. There are lots of obstacles, right? As Asians ourselves, we're fully aware of obstacles and constraints, right? So what are the constraints? First, they have constraints about getting money because they have no credit history, they have no collaterals. So in that case, if they can borrow money, the interest rate will be high. And also, they have no access to information. They don't know when to sell, where to sell, and also they also don't speak the language. They don't understand how it works. So either they have to sell through the middleman, or they have to sell through at a lower price because they don't know what is the fair price, right? So then also, even for them to distribute the product is also expensive, right? Because there's no infrastructure to support it. Then the question is that as a social enterprise, is it possible for you to create an opportunity such that you can help them and also help yourself make some money at the same time? Is it possible, right? So this is the angle that I'm looking into. Now, when you're thinking about all these constraints, inefficiencies, obstacles, among all the research areas, I will claim that operations management is the best area to study that. Because that's what we do, is how to recognize the constraints and the inefficiencies. And then we try to figure out ways to reduce the inefficiencies or how to use the constraints to the best capability that we can, all right? So methodologically speaking, basically that we try to develop innovative ideas, which I did not develop. I just learn from others and then I share with you. That's what the professors do. I learn from others and then I share with you and I make money. That's how it works, right? So basically, we try to analyze these different innovations and then, well, how do they make money? And then the idea is to create the win-win situations is you help the poor people increase the selling price, reduce the search costs, and improve the productivity. So in other words, we can help them. This is the current situations. We can use supply chain innovations, which is something that operations management can do and do them well. Is how to reduce the waste, reduce the inefficiencies, like some form of optimizations, or to create more value, make the pie bigger. So if you can reduce inefficiencies, you can cut the pie and both parties can win. And make the pie bigger, you divide the pie, both parties can still win, right? If you don't create value, there's no possible, right? Then the question is how, right? So I'm going to share with you a few examples that I learned, and then I also use a simple idea to explain to you why this can result in win-win situations. First, in China. In China, the farmers are poor, and the government worry about farmers. That's why the Chinese government has been subsidizing the Chinese farmers for quite some time, right? But at the same time, the consumers also worry about food safety, right? Because of the unsafe fertilizers and unsafe practice. Then Walmart has come up with the idea to directly purchase the produce from the farmers. So what they did is that they contract the farmers, they rent the farmland from the farmers, and then they hire the farmers to produce certain crops. Why do they want to do that? First, they want to make sure that they're using the right method. Second, they want to make sure that it's a right variety of produce to be produced. Because if you don't manage it, they may produce the wrong crops at the wrong time. Because Walmart wants to have the right product at the right time. So that's why that they want to actually work with farmers directly, such that they can produce the right product at the right time. So in that case, how to do that is basically that is they try to provide the direct contract with them so that they have a track and trace capability. And then they work with the Chinese government to build the infrastructure. The Chinese government also build roads for them so they can transport. So actually, it's already exceeded over 1 million, and they try to achieve 2 million farmers by 2015. So now, actually, many companies, they start doing that because of direct contract. So in the case, there will be less hidden action, hidden information, hidden agenda. So besides Walmart's direct farm program, there's also there's a Starbucks CAFE initiative, as well as the Nestle's creating share value initiatives. Right? So in this case, the farmer has known in terms of exactly the price they get in advance. So stable price, stable crops, and Walmart get the right products at the right time at the right price. Right? So essentially, it's try to cut the middleman. Right? So basically, they try to do it directly. So this one is, if you think about, we can build a very simple model, simple analysis, look at the supply chain, the end stages, the end middleman, and if the demand is a very simple function, what you can show by going through some basic mathematics, you can show that is by reducing the middleman, everybody wins. The farmers, towards the end, will win. The price will also drop because you cut the middleman. And also, you can sell more as well. So then more product will be available at the lower price for the consumers. Farmer make more money, and also that's the entrepreneurs also make more money. Now, this one is actually happening in Asia very well. During lunchtime, we will talk about the wealthiest woman in the world, Miss Zhang Ying. She started the company, Nine Dragons, paper company. And her company is the largest cardbox boxes company in the world. She started the company in California, exporting waste papers, recycled papers, and leveraged the very low empty containers shipping from United States back to China. So that's her company. She started a company in California, shipping, exporting waste papers to China. But to which company? It's her company. So in China, it's a Nine Dragons company receiving the waste papers, and then she recycled into cardboard boxes. So by 2010, her net worth of $4.6 billion. So this is, she created the whole thing by cutting the middleman. So she did them all. Now that's actually, there's no other major competitors in this space in China, and she is it, right? So cutting middleman could be powerful. Now, but this is only can be done if you have the vision or also with some technology, like Dell, you can sell direct. Now, but in some cases, the middleman as an agent can also create value as well. So let me use another example. By being the middleman, you can make a big difference. You look at this picture, a lot of people may think that these are the Mexicans looking for work in Los Angeles, but it is not. It is in Africa. A lot of people are looking for work, but they don't know how. So basically, they're waiting on the side. So that's why this project is called Man on the Side of the Road in Africa. So basically, they're looking for work, but a lot of time it's a whole day wasted, right? So what can one do to create a win-win situation? This is a company. This company started, is more like a job placement center. What they do is they classify the workers by the skill sets. In terms of gardeners, painters, plumbers, electricians, and also rated their skill sets, skill level. And then they classify them, certify them, make sure that there are no criminals. And then they classify them and then also advertise them for them. It's like placement agencies. So as a result of that, basically that they create a lot of work for the workers over the years. And actually, this middleman facilitates a market that did not exist before. Without their presence, I need a lot of work to be done at home, but I'm afraid to contact these people because I don't know who they are. But with these agencies existed, there's some form of assurance that they will be making sure that the project will be done properly, right? Because they're under insurance. So that is one way to create supply meets demand. So by using the agencies model. Now, this agency model is actually also has been very successful and created the #2 startup companies in the world. Xiaomi is the first one, the largest one. The second one is Uber. Uber is already in Hong Kong, right? So basically, Uber is connect the drivers and the passengers using the Uber platform to connect them, right? That's what I created. Then it was a fortuitous opportunities. I saw the article in South China Morning Post yesterday. He talked about these social entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, and he started a company called Translingual Services. It's actually to provide the interpretation for patients in the hospital who does not speak English nor Chinese. So this could be like Urdu, Punjabi, and some other languages. So what they do is that they use the registered potential interpreters and then assign them to patients. And this article talks about he's making $500,000 a year. Not bad, right? So I think this is also wonderful opportunities to create an opportunity that did not exist before, right? So this model is very powerful, create agents, and this man on the side of the road won the Social Innovation Award Economist in 2012. Now, so this one is also this particular business model is essentially trying to reduce the inconvenience, the friction, or the search costs of the workers, right? So being a modeler myself, so I just, is there any simple way to so that it can create win-win situations? So it turns out that we can. So basically, that is this is a simple model, assuming that a worker can have different offers coming in, they're random. Then the question is that every time he tries to get a offer, it has to pay a search cost. The search cost could be the cost paying the job agencies. Maybe he has to wait. Maybe he has to travel, right? So by doing that, then the question is that under what condition he should accept the offer, and also that if this agency can help them to reduce the search cost, would that create a win-win situation? As it turns out, this problem can be formulated as a well-known problem in economics. It's called search theory. So this one, the result is that this person should accept the offer the first time when the offer exceeds a certain amount. That's what we call reservation price. And once you do that, we also show them that if you reduce the search cost, everybody wins. The workers win, the agencies win, and also the consumers also win as well, right? So this is the second model by creating markets that didn't exist before, such that the workers win and also the company win. Now, knowing Hong Kong, everything is very expensive. I'm always shocked because I feel so poor every time I visit Hong Kong. Because the property value is so high, then the question, how can one start a business in Hong Kong? Because everything's so expensive. Well, but there are some business you can start that does not cost a lot of money. Okay? Now, this company is founded by 3 London Business School MBA students. Right? This company is called RML, Reuters Markets Light. Reuters is the largest information service company, Reuters Thomson. And they have the data. They have the data from the Indian government and also the Indian weather services. They have all the information, but the Indian government, they don't know what to do with it. And they say, well, give it to us. We can use it. So the way they do this is actually they customize the information. They customize the information, and then they push the information, customize the information to the subscribers. They charge around 60 rupees, which is around $1.50 per month. They give them the information about the price in the nearby markets and how to grow certain crops, weather forecasts, and also they charge the price. So basically, that is, they utilize the existing information platform on the internet, which most Indian farmers do not have because the internet penetration rate is only 10% in India. But the cell phone, the feature cell phone rate is over 90%. Now, in Hong Kong, if you cannot afford to rent an office space to create a business, but utilizing the information services, your cell phone apps does not require a lot of footprint. So that's something for the local to think about, all right? So this is founded by 3 London Business School MBAs. So it has been very successful, and actually that is covering over 1 million farmers, and actually that is been doing very successful. Now, so this model is interesting in the sense that is by providing information to tell the farmers where the selling price is, at which market, and where the condition. They'll help them to make informed decisions. When to sow, when to harvest, when to sell, where to sell, and all this, right? Then the question is that, is it true? Is it true that you can actually create a win-win situation, right? Now, so when I first started, I said, well, maybe you can. So this one is that is by providing more accurate information, right? Because they still don't know the exact the price. You have to go to the market to realize the true price. But they give you the current price selling the previous day. And in that sense, they try to give you the more information, more accurate information, and hopefully that you can make better decision. So basically that is, we can also provide a simple model to show the following. Is that is, if you provide the information before selling, but more accurate information. So this one, by going through some simple analysis, you can show them that actually, by providing more information, the farmer will sell more, and the price will reduce if you give them more information. And then both parties win. The farmers win, and also the information providers also win. So this is one business model. But then there's another business model, is that is, well, in addition to giving you the more market information, why not to give you the price, the selling price in advance, so that you can choose? Now, if for those who have purchased products on eBay, it has an option. Either you go for the auction to bid the price, or you go for the buy it now price. If you click the buy it now price, the auction will stop and product is yours. It means you can terminate the auction by using the buy it now price. Now, there's one company in India, they did exactly that. They offer the options the following. They offer information just like RML. They tell you about the trading price in the previous day. In addition, they also offer, they say, if you're willing, this is the current selling price in the previous day, but if you're willing to sell to me now, this is the price I'm going to offer you. So that you have an option. You can sell to me at the sell it now price, or you can haul your crops to the market to go for auction the following day. It's up to you. And then they offer the fast payment and whatnot. Now, this one I was quite excited when I found out that they're doing that. Then I said, well, eBay is doing that. This one is doing that. Maybe I can analyze something. And also, a friend of mine has the eBay data. It turns out, just like in any academic community, I was just one step too late. Someone already done it. So basically, this is Rene Caldante from NYU. So he has one paper on that. So basically, this one, you can show the following. By providing the sell it now price, actually sellers always win because they know the farmers is risk averse. Then it can be shown that is the farmer is willing to accept the price slightly below the current market price because he may not want to gamble. By willing to do that, the buyer can offer a price slightly below the current market price so that they can get the low price. And the farmer can save on the risk. They can reduce the risk. Therefore, it can create a win-win situations. All right? So this is also a quite interesting phenomenon. So this one also to formalize the understanding why this model exists, why the farmers also agree with this business model. All right, to summarize, in terms of how to help the poor farmers in the upstream as the producers, we'll have talked about different examples in terms of how to create win-win situations. One is how to increase the selling price by cutting the middleman, like the Walmart's examples. And also we'll talk about how to reduce the search costs This is about creating agencies, the market creation. So this is like the social entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, the translingual services in Hong Kong. And also this is how to improve the productivity. This is the RML, the Reuters Market Light, and ITC, which stands for Indian Tobacco Company. Now, so the next one I'm going to talk about quickly is in terms of how we can improve the poor people downstream. In terms of the distributors, now we're talking about how do we get the product to the poor people, or how to collect the products from the farmers, the distributions. Because in many emerging markets, the distributions is a problem. In India, 50% of the crops are wasted because they don't have cold supply chains. So that's why that is sad, because India can be self-sufficient in terms of the food supplies. Now, in China, they can be self-sufficient, but the supply chain is very inefficient, and they don't grow, the productivity is very low. That's why in China, they import a lot of rice. Chinese eat a lot of rice, but we don't grow enough rice. So there are a lot of import from Thailand, from some other countries, right? But actually, China needs to be self-sufficient as well. All right. Now we're going to talk about two business models that companies can leverage. The first one is hub and spoke. We already talked about the Coca-Cola, the micro-distribution centers. So Coca-Cola, they produce big amounts of Coca-Cola in the warehouse, and then they redistribute it to small micro-distribution centers. They use the bicycles to distribute it to little stores in different areas. But the second one, we call it piggyback. Piggyback is basically you leverage an existing infrastructure. You create something that cannot be created otherwise. Now, this company is very smart. It leveraged the Coca-Cola micro-distribution centers in Africa to distribute the following product, which is much needed. This product is by Coca-Cola Life. Basically, in Africa, a lot of children died because of diarrhea. Why? Because water is not safe or not clean, the diarrhea. If they not get rehydrated quickly, they will die of dehydration, right? So that's why that they need to transport soap, maybe the rehydration salts, zinc supplements, information, and other materials. But then the question, how to distribute it so that it's widely available? By knowing that Coca-Cola is everywhere, they come up with the idea how to package all this product into a little wedge and put this little wedge between all the Coca-Cola bottles. Now, Coca-Cola has been distributing these products for 100 years. No one ever thought of a way how to utilize this empty space to create something that didn't exist before. So now, this product is available everywhere in Africa. Wherever there are people, there's Coca-Cola. Once there's Coca-Cola, there's this Cola Life. If you buy Coca-Cola, you can buy this one too. So basically, they create a system that could not exist otherwise because it's too expensive, right? So I thought that is quite brilliant, right? So, but this one, there's another company. They combine both. They combine the hub and spoke and the piggyback. You create a win-win situation. They make money, and the poor people make money, all right? So this company is based in New York. It's called Vision Spring. Vision Spring, they combine both business models to create something that's seemingly also not possible. The founder is an optometrist, and he discovered there are over 700 million people who need reading glasses, like myself. But they cannot afford it. Because I was shocked when I turned a certain age, I need the reading glasses. In the US, even the frame is $200. I said, it's plastic. How can it be $200? This is a brand. I said, I don't care about the brand. Is it something cheap? They said, no, that is the cheapest brand. All right. I said, okay, all right. So, but it turned out that they said it's not possible. The main reason is that the frame business is a monopoly. It's controlled by an Italian company, like Diamonds, De Beers, for a long time. So how do you break the cartel, right? So he came up with the idea to create 3 different strings of reading glasses, produced in China for $2, and then he sold it to these vision entrepreneurs by training her how to sell, and they sell to the poor people in the village, door-to-door sales. So basically, this is a hub, this is a spoke. So basically, that they produced the glasses at $2, sold it to her $3, she sold it to him at $4. So everyone make $1, all right? So basically, they provide microfinance because the lady has no money. So basically, is provide a travel kit. The kit has 25 pair of glasses with only 3 types of strings. It's only black. It's like the Model T. It's only black. It's basically, and actually they received the training, and also they had 3-day training. And then they also realized that after reading glasses, some of the people need prescription glasses because they may have nearsightedness or astigmatism that require optometrists. But they cannot afford to send optometrists to the village. Then they have to use it as a hub. So basically, they can use the lady and say, well, when you sell, you try to see whether he needs a reading glass. If reading glass, sell. You make $1. If he needs prescription glasses, give them a coupon. If you redeem the coupon, you still make $1. So basically, that he's either selling a pair of glasses or referral. Refer someone to the optical shop so they can get the test, right? So now, this one, if you think about the hub and spoke and the piggyback system, actually, you can think of it as like a simple multi-echelon inventory system. So this one, in operations management, we have studied it for 50 years. We know exactly how to make it work. So we know exactly where to start, how much to start, and so such the whole system will be efficient, right? Also, for the cases when you have to do the referral, to refer, ask the lady to provide $1 to refer for the prescription glasses, no problem. Basically, we can just modify the model a little bit to analyze it. It's absolutely no problem. All right. So basically, that's for the downstream distributors, we talk about win-win situations that we have observed. The first one is that we use the vision spring, use the micro-entrepreneurs to try to carry the reading glasses, sell it door to door, like the Hindustan in Unilever in India. The other one also use a referral, right? So there are a lot of opportunities, right, to study that. So now let me share with you in terms of we studied the upstream, we studied the downstream, and then what else am I looking into? Because the more I learn, the more I discover I don't know. The more I discover I don't know, the more I have to work. But not to worry. As I get older, I have to piggyback on the young talent. So now I'm working with a lot of young talents in Hong Kong. So I'm going to share with you what I'm working on. All right. The first one I'm working on with Chinese in Hong Kong, Songzhou, is basically we'll try to look at the direct farm contract. So I try to work with Walmart, try to collect the data, but then the communication broke down until last year because the Walmart is under investigation for corruption. Because in China right now, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress. So in that case, they don't feel convenient to share information. So this one has stopped, but I hope that I can continue. You talk about in terms of, does really the direct farm contract really help? So in this context, we try to talk with some of the chicken farms in China in terms of because the chicken is also the food safety is another issue in China. This is working on. The second one, I work with Ingrid Chen from Hong Kong UST. He has done appointments in the business school as well as the IE department. We look at in terms of the information. When the questions, we want to go further. When you provide the information, we show that it can create win-win situation if you're going to share it with one farmer. But what if you share the multiple farmers, they all behave in a certain way? That one will show that it's not always true. Because what happens is when everyone receives the similar information, they may behave in the same way. There's herd effect. Everyone will grow the same thing. Everyone will grow the same amount. So in the case, it would be overproduced. Once it's overproduced, then the price will drop. Actually, they suffer. Now, this one, we actually observed that the events happened last week. In China, milk price went up more than 2 and 3 times after the milk scandals in 2008. So what happened? everyone was investing in dairy farms. Everyone believed in holy cows. Get more milk because everyone looking for milk. So Chinese, either they invest in New Zealand or they have more dairy cows to produce milk. Then what happened? Overproduction. Now it's too much milk. So in that case, now that there was one article in Wall Street Journal, now a lot of dairy farmers, they start slaughtering cows, so maybe beef will be cheaper because there are too many cows, right? And also they had to pour the milk away, which is a waste, right? So this one shows that is when you provide them with too much information, they all do the same thing. When you all do the same thing, actually you're hurting them, right? Now, this one is very interesting, and actually this is related to a concept that we learn in operations research. It's called Bayes' paradox in traffic equilibrium. There was always a belief, when there's a traffic jam, why don't you build more roads? Makes sense, right? But as has been shown, by building more roads, the traffic could be worse. That's what I call paradox. How could that be? Now, let me use a simple explanation. I was talking with a researcher in Singapore. She's from Russia, and she worked for Google Maps, and they provide traffic information, right? Then they said, well, we have actually a decision support system. You use a Google Map with the app, they tell you exactly what is the best route. But then I said there is a problem. Suppose I'm driving, you're driving, traffic jam. So we all use the same app, will tell us the same route. Then we all follow the same route, the traffic is still bad. So that's a little problem. Then the question is, how can you provide the information in the efficient way such that they receive the information and yet everyone is better off? Is it possible? Right. So that's what we try to explore, we try to study. And then next one is also looking at a project started in the Philippines. I also found it quite fascinating. In the Philippines, just like many rural areas, a lot of little stores, they have to travel long distance to get the supplies, to replenish the inventory. So the travel cost is very high, right? So this is a joint work with Sean Zhao and one of the PhD students. Sean is the student of Professor Shirley Zhao here. And basically that is looking at how they change the system. So there's a venture capital firms come in. They say, well, we can help you. We can help one of the stores to become a superstore. This superstore, they can become the designated store to get the supplies so that they can get a discount, like a group buy. They get a discount, and then they come back and then resell as a wholesaler to others, right? But at the same time, they also allow them to sell as a retailer, right? I found it quite fascinating because this one is a combined competition and cooperation in the same system. Then the question is, well, if you allow cooperation and competition in the same situation, who will actually win? And by how much? So that's what we're going to study that, right? So, but also we also want to study how come we observe this is happening in the emerging market, but we don't see that happening in the States and other system. And then also at what point actually this system, by not allowing them to serve as retailer to compete, will become a better system, right? Because we see that this is more often in the developed economies, right? Then this is a combination, and is a term has been studied by some economists. It's called co-opetition, cooperations and competition. So we're studying that. So as you can see, that there are a lot of exciting projects to work on. So to summarize, I want to share with you what I share with you today is basically that there are a lot of exciting opportunity to explore. So the idea is how to exploit the constraints, how to understand the constraints, so that you can eliminate the inefficiencies, eliminate obstacles, or you can create better value. It's a better system, right? Is it possible? So there are many ideas to explore. As I point out, there are a lot of challenging problems in Asia. Given our colleagues here and the students are in Asia, there are a lot of problems to explore. But I also believe that there are a lot of innovative solutions can be created in Asia. Because I see that whenever there is an inefficiency, there's an opportunity. That's why Asia is the center of innovation. Because when you are working in the system is super efficient, the innovation is not there, right? Give you one example. Google Wallet, online payment. Okay? Google Wallet was a failure in the US. Why? It's not because of technology. It's because the banking system is too efficient. Every single American has at least a few credit cards. We have internet access. We have a mobile app. We don't need the mobile payment. But in many emerging markets, there are no banks, obstacles. But now, all the mobile payment efficiencies is happening in Africa because there are no banks, right? So think about it. Would be like in Asia, yes, there are obstacles, there are inefficiencies. But I argue that it's actually the opportunities here. But I want you to recognize the opportunities and explore that such that you can actually make Asia as a center of innovations. So I'm going to end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tang, for giving us a very insightful and enlightening talk. I'm sure we have other questions we want to learn from Professor Tang. And any questions, you raise your hand. I'm going to pass the microphone to you. Okay, yes.
Thank you. Hello, Professor Tang. You talk about reducing search cost as a model to help the poor as suppliers. I wonder, will any additional costs emerge during the process of reducing search costs? Like the case of the taxi drivers you mentioned in Hong Kong. I saw the development of many taxi apps like Didi Taxi in China. And while some people are enjoying the profits it brings out, and many problems still emerge during the process, like they exclude other participants who do not use phone apps, and they increase the taxi traffic violations, and they sometimes make little flexibility in rush hours. So I wonder how to weigh between the inducing and increasing and reducing costs. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an excellent question. Yes, when you are using mobile apps, for those people who have no access to cell phones, they have a is being disadvantaged. Then the question is that unless there is a subsidies to help these people to have gain the access of the cell phones, that's one way. Maybe the government can impose some form of tax or some kind of service charge, such that they extract that and help everyone have gained this equal access. So that would be one, right? And second one, in terms of compliance, very good question. Uber was accused in the US not checking the criminal records of the drivers. Now, but in US is complicated because it's a turnout. The number of Americans who have a criminal record is quite high. It's not serious crime. It could be some minor crimes, but it's also considered as a criminal record. So in that case, that is not easy. Now, but in some other countries, it's even more difficult. Like in India, right now, they don't even have an identification card. So as a result, there's no way to check the records until they finish the biometric system that they have starting, right? So until they have actually identified every single individual as a number. So it would take time to develop. But in the meantime, right now, this is actually they create more jobs for the drivers and also provide some of the service to the passengers to create the competition competing with the taxis. Otherwise, the taxis is a monopoly, right? So that's a creative competition will drive the price down. Drive the price down, I think that on average, not for everyone, so on average, it's still better off. But in terms of safety, there is still issues. The government need to impose some kind of regulations as well. But I think that in terms of equal access, I fully agree with you. That I think maybe the government need to provide some form of scheme to help the poor people to have access to cell phones. But you think about in India, 90% of the poor people, they have access to cell phones. thanks to the Sanjai phone from China, so that they can afford it. That's why I do teach Sanjai products in China. I said the Sanjai product creates some good, because otherwise, it's in poor countries, even in China, India, they cannot access to the cell phones, right? Because in India, they may not have energy, no electricity, but they have cell phones. Then someone should ask, how do they charge the phone? There's no electricity. This is the invention from Stanford. Become a delight. They use the solar cells to charge the lantern so that they don't need to use kerosene light. And then they can also use the energy to charge the phone. So in that case, you have no electricity, but they have the phone service. That's what I claim, that whenever there are obstacles, there are opportunities for innovations. Right?
Any other questions?
Thank you, professors. A very informative presentation. I have a question, which is that you're saying in order to, for the sake of protecting the interest of the poor food suppliers, we can increase the price of food products. I am wondering that in doing this, will it also hurt the interest of some consumers? Like among the consumers who are buying these food products are some people who are also living in poverty. So in this regard, do you think that providing food subsidies to these food suppliers is a better strategy? Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I think in the model is that by helping the poor farmers actually lower the selling price. It's not increasing the selling price. It's lower. In some of the models, it's not increasing, right? Second one, I want to comment on farm subsidies. Farm subsidies is a very controversial subject, right? I claim that that is not a value creation strategy, because that is essentially transferring risk from the farmers either to the companies or from the farmers to the government, because they absorb all the risk, right? That would not make the farmers become more productive. In order to make them more productive, they need to share some of the risk. That means that they have to put in some effort to improve the productivity such that they can produce more. If they produce more, because by improving yield, they can sell more, maybe at a lower price, such that the poor consumers have more access to food, and the farmers can gain more, and also that but they have to exert some effort, right? Otherwise, they would just take it for granted, and the system, the problems will continue without any improvement, right? That is a charity, but it's not social innovations. That is charity work, and basically it will not last. So that's why that now there are a lot of social entrepreneurs believe that is in order to make an idea sustainable, the workers themselves need to be committed. Let me go into one example. After we discovered Afghanistan is so harsh to female, and after the country is war-torn, how can you help the people to survive? So there's one lady who wants huge, she received the award from Jimmy Carter, President Carter. She created a company called Arzu, A-R-Z-U. It means hope in Afghan. Basically, that's she would try to ask the ladies to weave the carpet, high-end, custom design, high-end products, and to sell at a high price, but she would not give the loom, how to weave, to the ladies. She said, no, you had to earn it. Why was she so mean? She can afford to just give them the loom. She said, no. If you give them the loom, they may abuse it. They may not use it properly. But they have to rent it. If they rent it, they'll take care of it. It's like insurance, right? So that's why there are studies claiming that farm subsidies would not work. Right now in India, there's a big argument about farm subsidy is not working. Why? In India, the government care about farmer welfare. They're subsidizing the rice. So the rice price is low because of subsidizing. So now India is the largest exporter of rice to other countries. But basically, it's the government paying the money to other countries. But the Indian needs the money because they're subsidizing it, right? So therefore, it's not reflecting the true price. So basically, now that a lot of the Indian citizens, they are trying to against the farm subsidies. So that is that's remain to be seen. But basically, from the economic standpoint, economists have studied that farm subsidy is not a solution.
Questions? Maybe can I ask a question on behalf of academics because we do research? Do you see any issues that are conceptually different, conceptually unique to emerging markets, which are new to different from those in conventional so-called research?
Yes, in terms of the key differences.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of key differences, you notice that here, at least that I'm trying to insert one objective functions and two objective functions. Because in the traditional analysis, we always think of maximizing the profits of a company. Now, at least I have one additional requirement. It has to be win-win. How to split the wins can be settled in other ways. But for this kind of research and social innovations, we also have to think about other performance measures as well, because they're multi-stakeholders. There's the government policies, we talk about farm subsidies, and who subsidizes the taxpayers, and also in terms of the farmers, consumers, and also the workers, right? So they're multi-person systems. That's one. Second, the performance metrics is also different. Instead of just purely looking at profits or the farmers win, one step further we'll be looking into how does it really affect the environment, profits, and also in terms of people development. So for example, would be like, I was interested to really understand under the Walmart's Direct Farm Program, did they actually improve the yield? Did the farmers earn more? If they earn more, how much do they earn more? Did the quality of the products improve at the same time? So basically, most of our research did not look for the entire system. Well, we're looking at one particular objective functions and also one particular player. Here, we had to look at all the people within the ecosystems. That's why that I found it's more challenging, it's more complex. So this is only a starting point because that's, we have not looked into in terms of multi-parties issues. So for example, besides farmers, we have to look into healthcare issues. Right? At lunchtime, we talk about healthcare issues in China, even Hong Kong, in the US. Everyone's arguing about that. Even for healthcare, there is the funder, which could be the government. There is also hospital. They need to be financially sustainable. There's also patients, right? But of course, you also add to the insurance companies and all this. How can you come up with a healthcare payment systems such that everyone would be benefits better than the current system, right? That would be one way to look at it, right? So it is a big problem, and we need the young people like you and others to explore this because I think it's quite exciting because we have been focusing on one-dimensional space, right? But to solve real problems in the more complex problems, we can no longer looking at single-person decision-making because you make certain decisions, but the other people also make other decisions. Then the question is, how can you come up with a systems, a contract, an incentive mechanisms such that everybody in the system would behave in the same way, right? Besides dictatorship, willingly. It would incentive mechanism so everyone is willingly to behave in a certain way that everybody wins. Is it possible?
Thank you. So the future is ours and yours, young people, but mostly yours, young people. Yes. Okay, let's thank Professor Tang for giving us this talk. Thank you. And there are some refreshments outside, so our discussion and the exchange can continue after the talk. Okay, thank you all for coming.